Hey, welcome back if you've been here before, and if this is your first time here, welcome. I'm going to tell you how you can turn a dream into astral projection. Now, some people are actually pretty good at lucid dreaming already, and maybe they're trying to get to the next level. Some people are trying to go from dreaming and they're trying to figure out lucid dreaming and astral projection. Now, I've already made an entire video on Lucid Dreaming 101. You can check it out if you haven't, but if you've seen that video, you know that I tell you a lot of different ways on how you can recognize that you're dreaming. So a big part with this is that you have to be able to realize that you're dreaming, okay, when it comes to turning the lucid dream into astral projection. But what I'm also going to tell you in this video is how you can go from the dream state to the neutral state, which is what I would call when you're like halfway asleep, halfway awake, the hypnagogic state. When it's kind of like that moment when you roll over and you roll over, maybe you'll scratch your head or something, and then you'll fall right back asleep. When you have moments like those, your consciousness flashes back here for a moment. So if you're able to acknowledge those moments, you can also turn those moments straight into an astral projection also. So let's get into this. So personally, the reason why I'm making this video is because I just had to do this a few minutes ago. So I just woke up. So anyways, so I always find myself in the middle of a dream state, and when I've kind of already done the stuff that I wanted to do in my lucid dreams as far as controlling the dreams, now I'm like, okay, now that I'm done with that part, I can transition this into an astral projection. Because astral projection is just, I mean, personally for me, it's something that gives me more joy because it doesn't take as much thinking, because it's more of experiencing things that exist and not necessarily having to create things in my reality. When you're lucid dreaming, you're basically painting the picture of everything you want to experience. But astral projection, if you didn't know, is like experiencing other worlds and parallel universes and other versions of your reality. Now, the funny thing about experiencing this lucid dream state and going into an astral projection is that sometimes in my dream, there will be people who are trying to like bother me or deal with me or whatever, people in my environment, and I'll try to get away from them. And sometimes I end up having to literally run away. And it's kind of funny because running away from people who are in your dreams, it's like, it's kind of contradictory because it's like, how you going to run away from your own subconscious? But the reason why I'm doing this running away is because the way that I turn these lucid dreams into astral projection is by sitting down, focusing on the center of my forehead, and going into a meditation in my dream. Okay, so I meditate in my sleep. Now, when this happens, I found that when I close my eyes and I do this, I'm able to put myself on different frequencies depending on which way I hum. So if I go as I focus here, it'll take me to one level of vibration, and I can astral project into that frequency of a reality. Or if I go even higher and go it'll take me to an even higher place. So when I say a higher place, I'm just basically saying a reality that vibrates on a higher frequency. So if I go on a lower frequency, if I go I could go to a place that's more dense, something that's more similar to Earth. Because of course this is a very dense reality compared to a lot of the other ones. That's why we can't do stuff like fly here, because we're so dense in our spaceships that we're living inside of. But that's why astral projection is such a big deal. Because in astral projection, we can leave this body. Now, if you're having a hard time getting rid of the people who might be bothering you in your dream, here's what you can do. You can visualize what you want them to do. You can literally control their actions and get them out of the way. Because like I said, you already have realized that you're dreaming in this lucid dream. So therefore, once you are good at lucid dreaming, you can control everything in your environment, including what the people are doing, what they say, and how they treat you and all that stuff. So once I got people around me, for example, if I want them to leave, I can imagine a distraction that happens over there and they'll go over there. So that's just a way to get alone instead of having to run away. But it just depends on your scenario, because It depends on every dream, because every dream is going to be different. It's going to be different scenarios, and they're going to change constantly. I mean, I'm sure you remember at least one dream, and you ever notice how it happens so rapidly you don't even realize when you go into the next scenario in your dream. But anyways, you get control over this. The better you get control over this, the easier it'll be to go from the subconscious to the astral realm. All right, so when you get into the astral realm, of course, you're going to have this period where you're floating in between dimensions, and that's the tricky part, because when you're going from this dream state and you're traveling, you're literally traveling to another place. So you're going to have the moment of where your consciousness leaves your body. You're going to be floating or swimming through different realities, going through different portals, and it's pretty easy to think too much. I'm speaking from personal experience. It's pretty easy for me to think like, oh, okay, look at that over there. All right, let me make sure I keep my eyes closed. All right, is it time for me to open my eyes yet? Have I materialized in another reality? Or actually, is this where I want to go? Maybe I want to go somewhere else. Maybe I want to go see my grandfather. Maybe I want to go see a parallel version of myself. I actually mentioned my grandfather because pretty recently I had this experience where I was able to astral project and experience my ancestors. So if you want to see a video about me talking about my experience coming across my ancestors and those who have passed on to the afterlife, leave me a comment and we could talk about that in another video. But sticking to this subject, I know that that's one way to do it, but for the people who maybe aren't so good at lucid dreaming, make sure that when you are rolling over, make sure that you're able to bring your consciousness to the moment that you realize that your sleep has been interrupted. So maybe there's a sound that you hear and it gets in the way of you sleeping. So you wake up for a moment, you look around, and then fall back asleep. When you have that moment where you roll over and you wake up for a moment, acknowledge that you just rose up for a moment and realize, okay, I'm not sleeping anymore and I'm about to go back to sleep. So when you lay back down, it should be a lot easier for you to go into that lucid dream state. Same concept if you have to get up and go to the bathroom or what have you. But like I said, I already made a video about lucid dreaming specifically. So if you haven't seen that video, make sure you check that out. So when you're at that moment where you're rolling over and you lay back down, you should be able to keep your consciousness and your awareness up to where when you do shift back into that dream state, you should be able to recognize it. So the moment you recognize it, you can go, okay, oh, wow, I'm dreaming. Okay, now you can immediately sit down, meditate. And that way you can leave your body and go into the astral realm. Now, there's a lot of different ways for you to meditate, but this is how I'm telling you I personally do it. You can figure out some stuff that I might not even know about, but that comes with experience and experimenting with a lot of this stuff, because there's a million ways to do a million things. So you just got to figure out what works for you. This is what works for me. I sit my behind down on the ground, focus on the center of my forehead, and I chant the Om chant until I fly out of my body and bounce between these different realities, and I end up somewhere else. Once I materialize in that other world, I can do whatever I want to do. I can do anything. I can see anything. I could talk to anyone. You can experience whatever you want to experience. That's the cool part, though, because when you're about to astral project, you don't necessarily know where you're going to end up. So it's kind of like your higher self basically grabs you and takes you where you need to go to see what you need to see. And I'm 100% certain you're going to enjoy it. So once you have that experience, leave me a comment and telling me how it goes. Until next time, have a great one.